Welcome back to another episode of Desert Island Slabs, the hobby podcast where we delve deeper into the psyche of collecting and the collector themselves. I'm James, My Sports Compendium, and every single episode I invite a different guest on to take us on a journey into the deepest recesses of their collection, but also the deepest recesses of their soul. The way in which we do that is I ask each guest to choose the 8 items, just 8, the 8 items in their collection that they would save above all others, that they would rescue, that they would preserve if they were being banished, if they were being stranded, if they were being marooned on a theoretical desert island. My guest this episode is Daniel Sullivan. Daniel is originally from Manchester, but he now lives in the northeast of England, in Durham, with his wife. He's a business analyst working with data and performance metrics. But outside of his busy job, he is one of the most passionate collectors in the entire hobby, with a broad range of interests, but focusing really intensely on pre-modern English, British legends. So, Daniel, thank you so much for coming on Desert Island Slabs. I've been looking forward to this episode so much. So, first of all, how are you doing today?
I'm good, James. Thanks for the invite on and getting in touch. I must say that was an eclectic entrance to the episode. I do like listening to that. But yeah, doing really well. We're filming this early in the day, which is not normal for me doing a podcast. So let's see how we go.
Yeah, I think the entrances are getting more and more theatrical as time goes on. So soon it's going to be proper Freddie Mercury, hey-oh type things,
yeah,
Live Aid style. But anyway, so Daniel, thank you so much for coming on. Before we actually move into the items themselves, when you were asked to come on, obviously you've seen a few episodes at least, and you know you're going to have to pick 8. What went through your mind when you actually were sort of compiling your own 8, and what sort of principles did you apply? Was it easy? Was it difficult? Tell me a bit about that.
Yeah, I would say half of it. So around 4 of them were quite an easy choice, because these are cards that kind of sit in a small safe. They will not be sold. They are very personal to me, so they'll sit there and not be touched, only for me to look at every so often. But so the first 4 were really easy. The second 4, I did have a good think about it. So I had to tick a few boxes really. Is this something I would sell at some point? What does it mean to me? What was the reason I picked it up in the first place? That kind of thing, and that way drawn me to the last 4.
Yeah. So and I think that's the thing. It's almost like I'm going to bring in Championship Manager, and you've got the indispensable members of the first team squad, key players, and then you've got this kind of squad, important first team players, squad rotation players, and you kind of know you've got these ones that immediately come to mind, and then it's a bit more difficult sometimes to pick a starting 11 necessarily, or a starting 8 in this instance. But we'll speak more about the core concepts, I'm sure. But the first item, I imagine, maybe is one of the untouchables that you chose. So shall we have a chat about your first item, your first pick on Slabs?
Yeah, Slabs. This is the first name on the team sheet. We want to keep it to the football soccer theme, but it is. Let's see. There we go. This is the rookie sticker of Paul Gascoigne from Panini Football 87 and a PSA 9. I normally wouldn't be bothered about grades when I'm looking for the piece I want to find, but I did want to find the best I could find, and I actually graded this one myself. This is a PSA 9, and I think it's around a pop 4 at the moment. I've not checked very recently, but yeah, pop 4, PSA 9, none higher. There isn't a 10 out there, and to be honest, it's a sticker. It's what's that, 40 years old now. So yeah, I think you'll probably struggle to find that 10 now.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? Because this sticker, obviously, we'll speak a little bit about Paul Gascoigne and things, but this sticker is the sticker that I tend to gravitate towards when I think of a rookie. This is the one that comes to my mind when I think of a Paul Gascoigne rookie sticker, and it really, I also own it. It really is one of my favourite stickers, actually. Of all the, definitely of all the UK football ones before the Premier League came in. He just, he looks very like young, but you can see that cheekiness there.
Oh yeah,
and it's just a really, really amazing sticker. And what it sounds really, obviously, Gascoigne. It sounds like a silly question, but what is it about Gascoigne that drew you to him? Because you are probably I associate you so much of your collection with Paul Gascoigne, and you spend a lot of time kind of speaking about Paul Gascoigne and things. So why is that?
Yeah. I mean, there were some fantastic footballers in that kind of age when Gazza was coming through in the late 80s, early 90s. But there was a couple of things, really. First of all, I thought above and beyond his technical skills, his brashness with the ball, he didn't care who the opposition was. That really kind of drawn me in to really like him as a player. I don't support Newcastle, or I would have kind of grown up more knowing him at Tottenham or Napoli. But yeah, he was just, there was just something about him. He was just a completely different player to what was out there at that time, and I feel like he was just ahead of his time with the quality he had. And that's kind of one half of him. That is 50% of Gazza. The other 50%, and as probably most people know him for from the media and who he was, typically a lot of it was his own fault. It was just the way he was as a person. He was just wired differently to everyone else as a person.
And it's very interesting, actually, when you think about people like Paul Gascoigne. I do wonder because, and it's almost like an interesting hypothetical discussion whereby, do you think Gascoigne would perform better now with kind of a bit more discipline in terms of the way that football is a bit more regimented now? Or do you think he wouldn't ever ascend to the heights anymore because he was obviously so skilled, but maybe that was such a big component of his game, that kind of like, that weirdness at times. I mean, we'll speak a bit actually with the next item on some of the weird Gazza stuff, but he's a bit weird, wasn't he? Like like you say, wired differently, and some of the stuff he used to say and do. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, there was always a debate. So when Gazza was leaving Newcastle, when he was clearly being shown as one of those world's best, he had a really big decision at that time on whether he would go to Manchester United or whether he would go elsewhere. Tottenham came in quite late for him and offered him a few things that changed his mind, but there's always a question from people, is how would he have performed under Fergie? Would he have been kind of tuck under Fergie's arm, and would he have worked better? Would he have been a completely different person? I don't agree that he would have. I think he was who he was, and I personally feel that it would have been a negative for him going to Man United and Fergie, in that I don't think Fergie would have kept him long enough, because I don't think he would have changed, and I feel like as a football player he would have declined a lot quicker if he would have gone to Man United. So he had a bit more free reign at Tottenham, a bit more free reign, and worked with the likes of Lineker, who kind of just let him do what he did, and that's Gazza. And I feel like if he didn't have that free reign and he was constantly being told to calm down and, you can't act this way, I feel like he would have declined a lot further as a footballer.
Yeah, it's interesting that it's kind of like the two players that always come up in Man United discussions are, and for slightly different reasons, because slightly different personalities, are Alan Shearer and Paul Gascoigne. Of this kind of hypothetical thing, would Man United have gone on to win more, like especially European wise, if say Shearer was there, and Gascoigne as well. I think the Shearer question is always a bit more cut and dry in some ways. I kind of think it's a bit, with the Gascoigne, it's a bit more difficult to actually assess and appraise, because Ferguson may have got wound up with him. I mean, there's this narrative that Ferguson could control and manage anyone, but actually that's not true. Ferguson would cut the influences that he didn't think he could manage, so that they didn't infiltrate the rest of the squad. And there's all these stories about Ferguson, going. I think, and that's why it was very easy when he got to the younger players early, because then he could instill that sort of thing. Because, you hear the stories of Ferguson turning up at 11 o'clock at night to house parties with the 17-year-olds, and like these house parties with like girls there and stuff, and Ferguson's getting Lee Sharp and Ryan Giggs out and saying, no, get in the car, you're going home. And it's just like, imagine that happening now. It's just insane and crazy. But yeah, whether as a Man United fan, Gascoigne, the thought of Gascoigne having played for Man United, or when I was younger, actually being able to go and see Gascoigne play for Man United would have been amazing. But would he have been as good or as revered, or it's a really interesting discussion. Yeah,
I think for like the first season, if he ended up at Man United, I think he would have been a revelation. I think he would have really, around the players he would have been around with, he would have been a revelation. But I just think Fergie would have kind of lost his head with him and done what he did with some players like Jaap Stam and stuff, and just said, I've had enough, you're out. And I just feel that's where a decline would have happened with Gazza, and his head would have gone.
And Sully, I wanted to ask you a bit about, so then when you entered the hobby, is Gascoigne kind of someone that you targeted and researched straight away, or was these items that you knew about from when you were younger, or how did you kind of go about starting your very, very impressive Paul Gascoigne PC?
Yeah, so I got into the sports card hobby, and I think 2019, the Panini Premier League 2019-20 set had just come out. I think I just randomly stumbled on YouTube, as we all do, just scrolling through there looking for random things, and found someone opening a box of it. And I just thought, oh, what's going on there? An autograph of a footballer on a card. This is pretty cool. And it kind of all started from there. And it didn't start with Gazza. It kind of started with, and I think most people make this mistake, is kind of just quantity of just collecting whatever at the time. I'm enjoying collecting sports cards. I don't care what it is. I'll just pick it up because it looks good. It's a low number. I'm picking up an autograph. It's only maybe a couple of years afterwards when I realised, what am I doing? I've just accumulated a load of stuff sat on a desk here that I thought, let's kind of draw this back a bit. And let's go for exactly what I want. And when I thought back to my childhood, Gazza was definitely one of those players that always kind of stayed on my mind. So he was the first one immediately, a couple of years when I really started to get into sports cards properly.
Yeah, and it's an amazing item, and like you say, an incredible grade as well on this item, because these, the corners and things of some of the UK football ones, just it's really, really difficult to get very, very sharp.
Yeah.
Copy. When you bought this one raw and graded it yourself? I say I imagine I know that because I've heard you speak about this item before. But so when you saw it, did you? Because you said grade doesn't matter that much to you, but I think similar to maybe myself in some ways, where the grade's nice, and so I'd rather have the item, but the grade's nice. Did you know it was a good one when you kind of were looking at it and things, or what did you kind of think about that sticker raw? Yeah,
so for anyone that doesn't collect or grade stickers, it can be a lottery. When it gets graded by one of the grading companies, I use PSA most of the time, but it can be a lottery. I'm not sure why, but it can be a real lottery what you can get. Something could be a 9, something could be a 6, and it could be the exact same condition. Now, when I picked these up, it was nice. It was from a true collector, an older gentleman who had just accumulated these over time, but took care of them very well. He had quite a lot of Gazza stuff, so I kind of resonated with him really well and got into a really good relationship with what he had and what I had. And he basically sold me every rookie he had. He had like 3. And when he took the pictures and showing them me, I just thought, wow, I don't have one in this kind of condition. I've never seen one in this condition before, as if he'd literally ripped open the pack and just put it on there. So I paid more than I wanted to because of the condition of it. I already had a rookie sticker, but these condition was much better than what I had already. So I paid over the odds for it, which I was happy to do because of condition. I thought they were going to be good, but I wasn't sure if they were going to get that 9. One of them got the 9. The other 2, I think, were both 7s. So
7's decent. I mean, 7's a pretty good grade actually on this sticker,
and I would have been happy with that. But I think once you've collected for as long as I have, grade becomes a bit more important on the ones that you really want to keep, the ones that I won't sell. So yeah, I'm really glad to have got the 9 and that I don't have to fork out to try and buy one of them.
Yeah, and this sticker as well is, I kind of allude, is it, I don't like saying things like objective facts of like importance and things, because it's very, but this sticker to me is a very, very important sticker in English football, because it's one of the most famous one of the most famous players, in the sense that there are some players that ascend to a level of fame far above their peers. And it's interesting, because I was actually having this conversation, having this thought in my head on one of, these random, hypothetical thoughts and trains of thoughts. And I was kind of thinking, like, are there any players at the moment? Because I guess, like there's an argument for maybe Jude Bellingham. But like there are some players that sort of kind of from like, I know like Gerrard and Lampard are huge, but it kind of like Gascoigne and like David Beckham, Wayne Rooney. There are some that just kind of are just that little bit more above everyone else and kind of permeate the actual, not just the football fan, but the cultural consciousness as well. Yeah. And Paul Gascoigne truly was one of those. And it still is. I mean, he still gets quite a lot of media coverage doing his kind of slightly interesting things, which I think will lead us quite well into the next item, actually, Sully, because we've spoken a bit about his footballing components and things, like his amazing goals, his amazing skills. I mean, the Scotland goal is just the memory of him with the peroxide hair and things is just like literally ingrained, like etched on. I remember exactly where I was when I saw that as a 6-year-old. Yeah. But with Gascoigne, there's that other side to him as well, which we've kind of alluded to. And shall we have a little chat about your next item, and then we can go into the other side of Gascoigne a bit and see what we chat about here. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, so we spoke about Gazza and his quality as a football player. And I'm sure for anyone of a certain age will know his antics as well. And this kind of really, there was a few reasons, there's a few boxes that this ticked picking up this sticker, but one of the major ones is the image itself. And as you can see here, as Gazza did quite through the early 90s, he didn't like to allow Panini to get a really normal shot of himself as he got a bit older. He didn't allow that, and you'll know that from his Napoli stickers, that he never had a normal straight face. But this one alone kind of tells us everything about Gazza as a person, really. I don't see any other sticker at all in time that has this kind of image and portrays a character as much as Paul Gascoigne in it, and a 1996 Merlin Sky Sports sticker.
Yeah, I mean, this kind of just sums him up. I mean, like you said, some of the like Merlin Calcio ones where he's got his shorts up way too high. He's doing that like bass and all this stuff, and he just looks so silly. Or he's just like doing that really like sarcastic. Where he's like kind of thing. He's so funny, and that also goes in with some of the weird and crazy. So I mean, seen quite recently, as you may well remember, what was he kissed Prince William on the cheek or something? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And it's just like, who has the audacity to do stuff like that? He like meets Prince William, kisses him on the cheek, and just Prince William, he's not that bothered by it either, by the way. It's just because it's just like, well, this is just Paul Gascoigne, this is just what he does, and this is just who he is. And then some of the probably what someone watching this, if they don't know too much about some of his antics, it may be a good idea to literally just go and look for some of the Paul Gascoigne antics, because some of them are hilarious, actually. But yeah, are there any particular stories that you enjoy about Gascoigne of his antics and things that come to your mind or anything? Or
I mean, I think his earlier stuff, I know there's a lot through the time of him and even after his playing career, but some of his early stuff that I either watched on documentaries or heard on a podcast with someone, I think Lineker's podcast, he brings him up sometimes. He actually had Paul on one of his podcasts, Lineker, and that was a really good one to watch. But I think one of the earliest stories, I think I read it in a book, was in his Newcastle days. He was there for a couple of years, and when he became professional outside of his youth career, he was going to the training ground at Newcastle, and there was a brand new tractor there as they were beginning some grounds work. Brand new tractor had been delivered, so the groundsmen were ready to kind of pick that up. The key was left in the ignition. Gazza took it upon himself to get in that tractor because he wanted to drive it for no other reason than he just wanted a bit of a laugh. And because he just didn't know how to control it, he drove it incorrectly straight into the new training room. And smashed it into the training room.
That's a really good one. I think my favourite one is the one where when he was at Rangers and he was teammates with Ali McCoist, and basically 3:00 in the morning, Ali McCoist thinks that someone is breaking into his house, thinks that like he has a burglar in his house. So he goes down to the kitchen, and at 3:00 in the morning, Paul Gascoigne is making a sandwich. Just being like, all right, Ali, I came in through the window. As in, this is just a completely normal thing for him to do. He's hilarious, and it's so sad. In some ways, it's really it's difficult because he's given people so much joy. It's really sad that not so much he didn't fulfill his football potential, because actually I think he did, and but he's obviously gone on to have quite a few struggles and things with alcoholism and things, and that's the really sad component of it. And it must be very difficult when you have the magnifying glass on you and the lens of like things so much as he did in the way that almost I draw a lot of parallels between Beckham and Rooney with Gascoigne, actually, and I see they're kind of the three that I think of as the players that are really, really just like famous. And it must have been so difficult for him, and I guess those antics just. Yeah, it was his way. He just didn't really care. And that sandwich story, that tractor story, I just absolutely, they're just so good. They're just really, really funny. And that sticker is just a really great representation of Gascoigne just not really caring. He'll just pose however he wants. He'll be silly. He just was like an amazing footballer as well.
And I think whenever one ever asks me why do you collect Gazza, I could simply put that Merlin Sky Sports sticker on the table and go, there you go.
Yeah,
I feel like it epitomises him, and
it's a really, really great sticker. I really love this sticker, and and you know what? Is the album something you're familiar with as well?
I don't have the album. I'm very aware of it because. And one of the reasons I like this sticker outside of the image is I grew up in an era of stickers on the playground, and everyone was always chasing shinies. We can see here this is a typical kind of early 90s kind of shiny speckle is kind of how they led that in that kind of period of time with Merlin. And everyone always wanted the shiny. If you open a packet of stickers and found a shiny, you didn't care who it was. It was, I've got a shiny. That's kind of how I grew up on the playground with opening and trading stickers with friends and stuff. So yeah, that is one of the reasons I really love the Sky Sports foil stickers. Maybe not the album or the set as a whole, but any of those foils there really resonates with my childhood. And outside of Gazza, the Beckham in that set is probably the big one that I would love to pick up one I don't have. But
yeah, I mean the Beckham one is one of my favourite David Beckham stickers. Actually, it's probably my second favourite. I think Lego Dream Team is my favourite, if I'm being honest. But I really, really love the Beckham one. And I really love the album as well. It's really quite... I really like the multi-sports approach of it. Yeah. And I don't know if you've ever had the album in your hand at all, but I haven't got it with me. It's at my parents' in the vault. But it's just a really, really good album. It's a really good snapshot of Sky Sports' coverage in 1996, and it's got the Beck. It's got some really nice it's got a nice Robbie Fowler sticker. It's actually got like one of my favourite Jonah Lomu stickers as well, which is basically after he's just steamrollered Mike Catt, and it's kind of him just like side on just after he scored one of the tries. It's got a very early sticker for Sachin Tendulkar.
Yeah, which is very difficult to find now, that one.
It's
looking recently. I cannot find that sticker.
It is very difficult to find, and it's a very popular sticker. It's one of those that when I think I've got one left, but this set was one that I really enjoyed early on. It's got like a rookie sticker for Annika Sorenstam, like one of the greatest female golfers of all time. So it's a really, really cool set, actually.
Prince Nazim, who I do like.
Yeah, exactly, Prince Nazim. I think one of our first interactions was maybe me selling Prince Nazim to you. I can't remember. I don't know if I did. I can't remember if it was you. I think it may have been. But
I do have a little side collection of him.
Yeah, and it's a really, really cool set. And I'm just trying to think of and the pixelated shinies look so nice when you have them in hand as well, with the way they kind of rainbow refract and stuff.
Yeah.
It's really nice. Image. I was telling you before, actually, about, even though I like this set, unfortunately I couldn't translate it into an engaging YouTube video because I did have to start doing this video called Album Party that I filmed about a year and a half ago now, but I went to edit it and it was so boring. It was so boring. I actually just deleted everything. It was just the most boring video. I was like, I cannot put this out. It's cringeworthy. But I do love this set. But I always find that quite funny that was a shelved My Sports Compendium YouTube video. But yeah, amazing set. And I love, can you just bring the back up as well? Sorry, is that all right? Because the back of this sticker I also really like as well. It's got that vintage Sky Sports kind of print. Logo. I really really enjoy it. Big fan of the sticker, big fan of the album. It's got some really interesting stickers in it, and it's really nice. And a completed Sky album is quite difficult to find, and actually, even though I know kind of the tendency is to go for loose and raw, that album I think is one that is enhanced, definitely. Like in the album, the stickers make a lot of sense as well. So I really like the album, and I whenever I'm at my parents', I do occasionally get it out and flick through it to have a look. But yeah, amazing album. Yeah, no, I agree. Amazing player. And so yeah, I think we're going to move away from Paul Gascoigne, if that's all right with you. But we're not moving too far away, because Gascoigne has his Football 87 rookie. He's got the Emlyn Hughes card as well. That kind of game, that team tactics card. And then using the same image, he's got another rookie in the set we're going to discuss next. But we're not actually going to talk about the Gascoigne rookie sticker. We're going to speak about another, maybe not quite so famous, but still very well-loved English football legend. So shall we have a chat about your next item, Sully? Yeah. So this is the Daily Mirror, which is a newspaper publication, a set called Stick with Sucker, which is a very interesting subject, really, why they brought that out and things like that. But we're looking at a 1986 Daily Mirror Stick with Sucker of Matt Le Tissier, affectionately known by Southampton fans as Le God. Yeah. Now, I don't specifically collect Le Tissier. I am very aware of him, obviously. He was a very popular person in the 80s and 90s in English football. For me personally, some of his long-range goals really kind of stick out to me. Yeah. The reason for this, and I picked this rookie sticker up, was because I was going to be meeting Matt Le Tissier at a card show that was coming up at the time. I'd heard he's going to be there. He's happy to sign. So I took a couple of stickers with me. This was the main one that I really wanted done, to be honest, because it is the rookie. So I took them with me. Met Matt. He signed them for me. Really, really nice guy. He knew about the stickers. He wasn't a collector himself, but he knew about the stickers. He knew the images. He talked about his hair on the images, as he doesn't know what was going on back then. But yeah, just a genuinely really nice guy. He was happy to sign. We had a really good chat for 5 minutes. So yeah, his hair's all right. It looks okay. Yeah. I think he was kind of saying like, "Oh, it's all over the place. What was going on?" He's got like maybe a few strands kind of going up in that kind of like curve thing, but I can't really comment at the moment, to be fair. But I forgot about the grade as well. Yeah, so I decided to consciously just get it graded authentic. The sticker itself, I wasn't too bothered about the grade of the sticker. It was all about the opportunity to meet Matt and get him to sign his rookie sticker. So the autograph was graded a 10, which is great. Yeah, and he signed it in like a really good place as well. It looks perfect place, so good, and it's Yeah, it's kind of like one of these things where if the football card sticker hobby was as big almost as it is with the parallel American sports, that players like Tissier may get a bit more like attention, because this is obviously, well, I think we're of a very similar age actually, but growing up in the 90s Premier League, Tissier was a big player in the Premier League, and some of his goals, I mean, he scored 2 amazing goals against Newcastle actually. They're just some of the best Premier League goals of all time, and they weren't an infrequent occurrence for him scoring goals like that. And yeah, he obviously stayed at Southampton his whole career. And Le God, an amazing item. And is it, again, I guess the same question with this set, because it was the way you became familiar with it because of the Gascoigne rookie in it, or what? How did you kind of come to?
Yeah, I actually was very lucky a couple of years ago, because I know that this is the same year as Gaz's rookie. I actually found a box of it completely. It wasn't sealed; they weren't sealed back then, but a complete box. All the packs were in there, so I had a really fun time one night. Glass of whiskey on the table, and I just went through the whole box. Slightly mouldy smells, but I didn't care. It was really, really good to open. I obviously wasn't alive when this set came out, but I'm very aware of it and some of the players in there. So I think there's 3 rookies in this set, in that box. The Gaza is 1, the Le Tissier is 2, and I think Dennis Wise was the 3rd one. So it was really fun to open. I'm a real sucker for portrait images of players which are dead on, centered, clean image of the player. Kind of just really shows who they are. So that was definitely the first one to pick out when I was going to meet him.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think as well, the Le Tissier, I do like the Gascoigne one, but the Gascoigne is
an action shot.
Exactly, it's an action shot. Whereas the Le Tissier I do enjoy more than the Gascoigne sticker in this set particularly. And also you've got the bio on the back as well, which in my experience tends to be a little bit less frequently occurring.
Yeah. So yes, you get a little blurb on the back, where he came from. He's from the Channel Islands. I think he's Isle of Wight, if I'm right. Could be wrong, but I think that's where he's from. But yeah, you don't see that as much often anymore. And there's some really interesting blurbs on the back as well. Like one of them talks about someone's favourite food when I was looking at them, and I just thought, this crazy, just kind of the stuff they put on the back.
Yeah, no, exactly, yeah. And I've got the album as well, but it's not with me again. But it's a nice album, and the stickers themselves almost feel quite photographic as well. Actually,
they do. They have like a gloss finish. Yeah,
exactly. Which I've also opened a few packs of this, and they kind of they stick, because the stickers in the packs I opened were like sticking to the back of the front, to the back of the other one because of that. And I think it means that sometimes the surface on some of the Gazas I've had and seen raw, it's kind of always, the surface has always been a bit like off.
I know what you mean.
But I really like this set, and it's kind of like, I like these sets because also with all the, now like it's kind of quite regimented and it's like homogenized in some ways. Like but this one I actually quite like that. There's action shots, there's the portrait shots, there's just the weird bios on the back and things, and really, really nice set, really nice sticker of a very significant player in the Premier League in the 1990s, and one who but is remembered very fondly. We won't go into some of his COVID views on this at the moment, but
and I mean, he's even affectionately known from his days on Soccer Saturday as well. He, in my opinion, part of the best panel that Soccer Saturday had on Sky Sports, and
I agree, and this is the thing, because I think inclusion is very important, but I think that Soccer Saturday has, because in themselves, the individuals, like Matt Le Tissier and Charlie Nicholas, Paul Merson, in themselves, their opinions weren't, I wasn't like, oh my God, this is like a really amazing pundit or whatever, but together they just worked so well together.
Yeah. It was a perfect combination. It felt like it was some lads down the pub, really. The way they talked with each other and a bit of banter between them was very natural.
Yeah, exactly. Like a lot of Saturdays, I would have Football Manager open and just have Soccer Saturday on, and just just be listening to it. Just really fond memories of that Soccer Saturday. Gillette Soccer Special, as it was known then.
Yeah,
but it's just amazing. It became like a bit Soccer AM, Gillette Soccer Special. It's just just great times, and it's sad because it's inclusions is important, but this is the flip side, I think, in some regards, because that was really, really just great show and really great to watch, and I mean, with Soccer AM, you see, I mean, I think even if I watched some of the stuff they said in Soccer AM now, I think I'd be like, oh, I'm not sure about that, but at the time, it's just like...
It's a different time, wasn't it? The Soccerettes and things like that. Helen Chamberlain.
No, exactly. And some of the things, like, I mean, the Soccerettes, I always used to feel a bit awkward when, like, my parents were outside and say, like, I'd be watching it, and then, like, I'd be worried that they come in when the Soccerettes are on stage, but also I'd be like, oh, I also want to watch them as well. So it was like that thing. But yeah, and some of the stuff that like, it's never gonna last and stuff like that, all that stuff, and just the taxi for so and so, and I just remember all those, like, remember the Pascal Chimbonda thing, like, who's the longest in the shower?
Yeah,
and all this stuff. It's just coming back to me. It's just like taxi for it's such a great show. And I mean, it wouldn't the stuff they said on Soccer AM then wouldn't pass now, to be fair.
Definitely not. No,
at the time it was very amusing and very funny. But anyway, amazing item. Soccer Special was brilliant, and well, these are great chats. I'm like going back into my youth properly,
exactly,
with these chats. And the next item is another very well-known British player, and it's a set that is quite popular as well amongst a certain group of collectors. So, Sully, shall we have a chat about your next item and tell me a bit about it?
Yes, we're moving on here to, I was going to say Merlin then, because we've been chatting about that so much, but this is the Topps Premier League 2003. This is specifically the kind of autograph set that came out at that period. Few reasons for this. First of all, they were on card, which resonates with me a lot more than sticker autographs, so that is one big tick in a box for me. Second of all, you're probably thinking Liverpool player, Welsh player, why has Sully got this? This one comes from my mum, to be exact. She, when she was younger, was a Liverpool fan. She had no ties to Liverpool in any way. It was purely out of her love and the looks of certain players, James. So it was purely based on her infatuation with certain players of that period.
Did she like Tashes? Is she a Tash lady?
Must have been that, yeah. It must have been. That must have been what it was. But as I grew up, she was specifically just a Liverpool fan for that reason only. She said she had posters on her wall of the likes of Ian Rush and stuff. Nothing to do with football. I don't think she still knows much about football, but it was all about those kind of players that she liked back then. So the name Ian Rush was kind of put in my head from kind of an early age. Whenever I talked about football, my mum would bring up the likes of Ian Rush. So when I got into this hobby, and as I said, a couple of years into the hobby, I decided to kind of go for things that I wanted, that resonated with me and meant something personal. Ian Rush is one of those things. A homage to my mum and a homage to kind of my youth of being told about him. The good thing is he was a major player. He was the top scorer for Wales until Ryan Giggs came along. He was a big player at Liverpool. He went abroad to the likes of Juve, which showed his quality back then, that in the 90s, Juve were looking at him. He then came back to Liverpool and continued to score, so many goals. yeah, big name for Wales, big name for Liverpool, and a big name in British sport, and ticks all the boxes. I think also it's kind of like a colour match, and some people grimace about the word colour match, but I really like it. The design that in his red Liverpool strip, he's kind of all red.
Yeah, I like it. I like colour matches. Do people grimace about them now? Am I not up with the current hobby opinions? Well, tell me.
Yeah, I've seen it before with certain people saying, oh, you know, a colour match, it's kind of like a fake numbered card of some sort, or I don't know why, just because of that you're going for it. But yeah, design is important to me, and the colour match is great. So yeah, there is some people that are untowards to a colour match. And just calling it a colour match.
That actually makes no sense to me. That baffles me. Like a fake numbered card. What? But I'm going for it because I like the look of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Like a Vardy blue on blue colour match. It's just like
perfect.
One of my favourite Premier League cards.
Yeah. I think it's the more modern collectors. I think they're unhappy with pre-modern.
Get them out,
maybe.
get them out. Get them out. They're not welcome in this hobby. I'm sorry, you are welcome in this hobby. I love this card. I don't own the Ian Rush one, but I would like to, even though my allegiances are elsewhere. But I really also, because you said about the on-card auto component, and just that, because it wasn't so frequent as well, this kind of on-card, like distributor type thing. So those early 2000s ones, this is the second year in which Premier Gold did the autos. Yeah. And the third year in which Merlin did the autos to an extent, because I know that 2000, well, they kind of did them. There's actually a really cool story with the Merlin 2001 Premier League sticker sets about the on-card autos and the introduction to them. But I won't talk about it now. I'm going to talk about it on the video. But I love the cards. Like 2002, we spoke about with Damien and his Di Canio choice. And 2003 Premier Gold. I mean, just great looking card. I think my favourite Premier Gold set. I've said that before. And the checklist of the autos as well is just, they're almost all slightly underrated players, like modern. It's kind of like they've just picked like these, like who's going to be on, like, I mean, Paul McGrath, Les Ferdinand, Peter Beardsley, Michael Owen, Stuart Pearce, Ian Rush, and Peter Schmeichel. It's just like such a great choice for like legends that they picked. Yeah, and I love these cards. I love these cards. I'm big fan of this choice. Yeah. It's just great. And when did you buy it? Like, did you buy it on eBay or did someone have it? Because I don't see, the reason I ask is I don't see the Rush very often. I see a few more of them a bit more often, but not so much the Rush.
Yeah, I don't know if there are print runs, and I guess there would be a print run to some respects because it depends how much that player wanted to sign. So, but I feel I always see the Beardsley and the Ferdinand available to buy if I needed to get one, and to some extent the Schmeichel as well seems to pop up a bit. But if we look at likes of McGrath and Rush, I just hardly ever see these. I think this one, where did I pick this one up? I picked this one up off Card Hobby, which is a kind of like Chinese version of eBay, which is getting more and more pre-modernized. There's a lot of pre-modern starting to pop up on there now, which is really good. So that's where I picked it up. It actually came from China, of all places. I have no intentions to grade it. It really is one that is just a personal connection to me, and it's just been held for that. I actually have, it's not just that one that I picked up of him. I've been picking up anything that is on card from Ian Rush, so just this kind of side step here. I've got like a modern one here.
Yeah, wow, that's really nice.
So this is a flawless out of 5. I picked this one up from America. I got it at a fantastic price, I suspect, because the Americans don't really know who this is. So it got a really good price on that. So that's another on card from Ian in his Wales strip. I have one final one hiding here as well, which is another modern set, but another on card from Ian. Came from a Topps Champions League.
Oh, just bring it a bit more in the middle, Sally. Sorry, I can't see the colour. Yeah, no, that's really nice. Yeah, Alan Ginty, because that's I've been. Is that a very recent one? Because I've been looking at, because I think Pierluigi Collina has on card autos in his set.
Yeah,
and I really I'm kind of, they do appear, and I'm kind of waiting because I think I can pick one up because I'd love a Kalina on card also. It's such a memorable, iconic referee.
Last year the set is
quite
a new
really
one,
nice.
but it was because of the on card that kind of made me go for it.
Yeah, really, really, really nice card, and and you can tell that this card is pre-modern as well. The Ian Rush one, the Premier Gold, it's kind of the font and things is very pre-modern. It's just a really nice card. And do you own any others of the Legends autographs at all in the set? Or
I do, yeah. So I've got the Beardsley, I've got the Schmeichel, I've got the Ferdinand. I think that's it. Yeah, they're the ones I've got.
No, yeah, I'd love the Paul McGrath.
Yeah. He was a big player back then.
Yeah, he was, and I do kind of like having things that of players that have played for Manchester United at some point.
Okay.
And yeah, I'd quite like. I think with the Owen one, unless I was going for the whole set, because Owen's got one in the previous year as well when he was at. I think because he was. It shows you as well how highly regarded Michael Owen was at the time, and it's easy for people to forget sometimes. I think one, how good he was, and two, how popular he was as well. Because he was given a legends type thing even when he was an active player at Liverpool.
He was in both years, 02 and 03.
Yeah, exactly. And I really like the. I mean, the Di Canio is my favourite. I don't own the Owen in either year, but the Di Canio is my favourite one in Premier Gold 2002. But I would really, really love the Littmanen and the Owen, because Littmanen's obviously such a significant player. Just because, and he's like regarded as like the greatest Finnish player of all time. And I sometimes think it's quite cool to get like the best player of each nation of all time. That I think is quite a cool thing to target and do. But they're really. I mean, the Littmanen's actually really popular though. I think like so it's kind of like, well, other people value this as they rightfully should more than I do. So I've never actually got it because it's like, well, I'm not going to pay like £300 for a Littmanen auto. It's like, maybe another player, but not Littmanen. But yeah, I love the Premier Gold on card autos.
Yeah, I must say, just going back to that Michael Owen piece, James, as well, is quite really underrated, to be honest. If we think of who he was in his prime, I understand injuries really took their toll with him as time gone on and probably shortened his career, but to Ballon d'Or, off to Real Madrid, such a young age, massive name in England as well. I'm sure we all remember the 5-1 against Germany. Yeah, what he did there, and he's just such a big name, and I think he's really underrated as a player. Yeah,
he is, and I think with Owen as well, in a kind of like if you were there moment, because I alluded to, we alluded to the Gascoigne and Rooney and Beckham thing. There was a time in the late 90s where Owen was almost just as big as Beckham, actually, in terms of brand deals and popularity, and popularity with like females as well. I remember he was. I definitely remember that like really quite vividly, actually. So yeah, it's interesting how the injuries. It's sad how the injuries really have dented his legacy, because he was an amazing player. I also think that his legacy doesn't really have a almost like a harbinger or like an advocate because of what he did when he went to Man United. So he hasn't got anyone advocating for him. He hasn't got anyone like saying, like trying to keep Owen's legacy alive, because he's, kind of the people that might have done that are the Liverpool fans. But, he went to go and join Man United, and he won a Premier League title. So it wasn't a terrible decision. He scored that amazing goal as well in the derby. But maybe I would wonder if he if he regrets that decision a bit, possibly. And because he did he leave? He left. I know he left before they won, but I think it was literally the season before Istanbul he left. I think I think he left in 2004, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, sounds about right. Yeah,
which. But he was an amazing player, and it's sad. Have you seen the interviews with him and things where he discusses about how he couldn't sprint and things like that.
Yeah, I have read and heard about those kind of things. Yeah, what it got to in the end.
Yeah, where he's basically saying that he still had the pace, but he knew that he couldn't sprint because his hamstring would like snap or tear, and that was so difficult because he'd have to just come short, lay it off, and then try and use his own nous to try and get a goal and things. And yeah, I mean, Michael Owen, amazing player. It's so sad with his injuries, really, because he was scary as well. Actually, he was really in like the 1998 era, 98, 99 times. I remember him like scoring hat tricks against Newcastle. He was just very difficult for defenders to deal with. He couldn't handle
very
him.
Nimble, fast. Yeah, and
couldn't really handle him. Couldn't deal with him, and a very well remembered player. I think. Yeah. I don't. His punditry annoys me a bit, if I'm honest. But
yeah, that probably doesn't help him. Yeah,
yeah. I think that's almost like the elephant in the room in the sense that sometimes he says things. It's like, oh, Michael, I just silence was perfectly good. You don't need to say like stuff. It's a bit irritating, but he knows more about football than me, to be fair. So but yeah, great item on the Ian Rush. And I think we should move on to maybe the next item now. We're halfway through, and we're going to go back a few years now. We're going to go back to the 1930s. So we're going back quite a few years, and a player again that was one of the early stars of English football. So should we have a chat about your next item?
Yeah, and we slightly alluded to Ballon d'Or when I spoke a minute ago, so we'll bring this one up, and this is the first Ballon d'Or winner, Stanley Matthews, synonymous with Blackpool and Stoke, from 1934, Ardath Tobacco. We've got it here in a 6.5. Now, this isn't a difficult one to find. It's quite popular. I'm not sure if it's just the print run at the time. These just flew out. But to find something in a excellent mint and upwards is not as easy these days, especially when this is going on 90 years old. So, but yeah, we are talking what I would say is kind of like an entry point in the vintage hobby. Something that everyone really wants in there as a mainstay, really. Stanley Matthews, a major, probably one of the first superstars of English soccer.
Yeah, a great card, and sometimes I think as well is that we almost can't see the wood from the trees in some ways, because it's kind of like, well, sometimes people will say, oh, this card is so frequent, so common, and therefore it gets a bit of a, not this card specifically, but that concept and that card gets a bad rep. But actually it's like, yeah, it's pretty ubiquitous, fine, but it's a really cool card. And I always think that when people say things like that, they're basically unable to disentangle the financial component of anything. And it's just like, but it's a cool card. It's like a very early, it's like, well, it's a rookie card that he has got like a earlier stamp transfers thing in like not 2 years earlier. I don't know if you've seen that. That's really, really like almost impossible to find. But as card issues, this is like his first one to my knowledge, or one of the first ones. So it's such a significant card. And actually that the sort of ubiquity of it, I think, is good, because it gives people, not in this grade, this is an amazing grade, which we can speak about in a minute, but it gives people an opportunity to acquire something really significant for not very much. Yeah. That's, I think, is really important for especially early on in the hobby, because you've got this amazing card and it looks really nice as well.
It does. Yeah. Again, it touches onto the portrait clean image that I really go for. So, yeah.
Yeah. Really, really nice card. And yeah, just I mean, Stanley Matthews is, yeah, I mean, he played till the age of 50. Yeah. I mean, just come on.
Yeah. Yeah, just a major name, and the players around that time used to speak very, very highly of him. When you read certain books or Wikipedia and stuff, he was just, they were saying he's like one of the first superstars outside of Dixie Dean's time. He was just, regardless of where you were from in the world, he was the name everyone knew.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think, now I could be mistaken with this kind of thing, But I think also he was quite committed to conditioning and things, which kind of goes hand in hand with how he managed to play to 50 years old, which is insane. But he was quite sort of, with the sports science component, would have been really in its infancy, but he was actually quite committed to his own physical conditioning, which is really impressive. And amazing player.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff in books and stuff where he was very regimental, and where players would end the match and maybe go for a cigarette and go to the pub with the lads and stuff. He would tend not to and decline those invitations to maybe spend another half an hour on the training ground, or go home or something.
Yeah. And was this one that you picked up? Was this a raw acquisition, or what? How did you get this card in your collection?
Yeah, this was a raw acquisition. I actually picked up the entire set for that year that someone was selling, and I picked it up at a local card show, like a vintage fair, and someone had a few entire sets for sale, and this was one of them. And I kind of flicked through and thought, that Stanley Matthews looks quite good in condition. I think I'll just take the set here. Picked it up at a very good price, and I graded 2 from the set up to now, that being 1 and the other being a Manchester City legend, Eric Brook. So they're the 2 I've got up to now, graded.
Yeah, and what grade did that one get, the Eric Brook, out of interest?
That was fantastic. That one got an 8.
Wow. So it's clear, maybe, was it, because I guess probably this was preserved, that maybe someone literally just put them in sleeves or something? Or,
do you know those
something?
kind of like cigarette kind of folder pages that people have? They were all just in there, but they just looked in fantastic condition, as if the person had collected them from the 30s and just kind of left them there to look at.
And it's interesting because also with these ones, because I see it a bit with, actually somewhat ironically, the next card we're going to speak about as well, but the smaller cards, if they've been put in early, tend to preserve quite well, but bigger than because I think they're quite, the corners end up quite protected and things. The surface can be a bit of an issue, of course, but the corners end up protected if they're put in those sleeves and things, because they're not so, they're not having to deal with the friction and things against the ends. But amazing. I mean, to get the 8 on the Brooks is amazing.
Yeah,
it's just and it just
I've
looks
got
really
thoughts
clean.
to grade more because of the condition of them. Maybe grade the whole set at some point.
Yeah. That, how many cards are in the Ardath set?
Does it say
quite a big one?
I mean, this is number 39 on the Matthews, so there's at least maybe 40, but I'm not actually too sure. I'd have to look at the what I've got.
That's all right. I'm just wondering, if you want to grade the whole set, that would be quite an expensive undertaking.
It would, yeah.
It would be a very expensive undertaking. Unless I think PSA do like grading set specials sometimes, I know. But,
they do.
Because I think a lot of baseball card collectors want to do want complete sets of graded items and things. But so I was thinking about doing that for this one. Yeah, and how would you store it? Would you store it like in like a case then, or like a box or something, or how would you?
Really tempted to buy one of those for the wall. Is the wall mounted kind of case, and they all just kind of stand up next to each other. I'd be very tempted to do something like that.
That would be cool. Yeah, that would be cool. That would be really cool. Yeah, Stanley Matthews is. I mean, like, Stoke love him. Like, he's not someone that suffers from like a legacy issue like Michael Owen, because I mean, Stoke love him, Blackpool love him. I mean, England loves him as a whole. But yeah, just an amazing card. I really, really like this card. And this was also one of the cards that I kind of targeted quite early as well in the hobby. And it's a very important card. It looks really cool. So I love that you've chosen it as well to discuss. And did you own any other Stanley Matthews items? Have you gone looking for Stanley Matthews things, or is it more like you're happy with this card as a representation of him and happy to move on in the rest of your collection?
No, just that one. I don't have any affinity to him. I don't collect him as a specific player. It was just, I felt it was one that anyone who's in the vintage or even pre-modern market, it's definitely one that just represents England football and deserves to be in there.
Yeah, 100%. Like you said, the first Ballon d'Or winner and a strong representative of English football.
Yeah.
And I think that goes into the next item, who probably... I mean, Stanley Matthews has an impact. And maybe it's bias from me, but I don't think so. I'd say that the next guy has a stronger reputation and is a stronger representative of English football for obvious reasons. So shall we have a chat about your next item?
Yeah, and I'd agree with that. I mean, I don't support the club he played for, but I just think I would definitely say probably the most important player for England, I think, in English history. And we have a Bobby Moore. This
amazing.
Is a second-year card of his. I never really chased the rookie, which is the reason why is because the design on this one is more important to me. I enjoy it more. The really crisp, clean portrait image. The facsimile autograph is pretty good to have underneath as well. But yeah, second year Bobby Moore from Barratt, famous footballers, a set that I really enjoy of several different years. But yeah, 1962, second year Bobby Moore in an SGC6.
Yeah. I mean, this card is really nice, and obviously it reminds me obviously of the other Barratt, the smaller cards and things like the George Best rookie and things. And I mean, this card because I think there are two that are quite similar in the sense of he's got the same image 2 years in a row as well with this. Yeah.
But so the number on the back actually becomes very important then. So this is number 16 of the Bobby Moore, but the year after is not the 16, the A11 series. So the next year is an A12.
Yeah, and just a really nice looking card as well. I love the sort of goldy orange background, and it's a bit of a colour match with his hair, maybe, if we're allowed to say that. But yeah, to be honest, it doesn't bother me, but I do think that Bobby Moore is underrated in the hobby. I just do. I just do, because I just think for me, I think he's my favourite player of all time with David Beckham, which, as I've said before, is like the most simp English football fan choice that there possibly can be, because just pick who are the two most obvious people you could pick. Bobby Moore and David Beckham. But for me, Bobby Moore is underrated because he should be the absolute pinnacle. Like, I don't like people can do what they want, but I just don't. He should get way more attention not just in the hobby, like in just his country. He gets a lot, but I just think like we should be speaking about Bobby Moore like all the time, because he is just, he won the world. He was the World Cup winning captain.
Yeah, and he didn't get any negative media. He was just a straight cut guy. Several players in that period of time said he was unbelievable. The likes of Beckenbauer and stuff spoke very, very highly of him. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, Bobby Moore, Damien chose a Bobby Moore item as well, and it's just, I just think that he is, because it's interesting, because I think that there is a degree of, if you've read like the biographies on Bobby Moore and things, there are two that are quite good, and both kind of, I think there is something that no one really knew him in a way. He enjoyed like going out and socializing, but there was an impression that he kind of always withheld a bit from the public eye, even though he was so popular. Yeah, he wasn't. It kind of was like, who was the real Bobby Moore? Was there actually something more to him, or was he just like a very like polite chap that just didn't really? Because it felt like sometimes he was maybe not that comfortable with the fame. He was always like a good ambassador, but he was never so comfortable with the fame, and it always felt like he didn't really show the public his true personality. Yeah. But as a figurehead, I mean, he stands outside Wembley Stadium and just guards it, and he guards the home of football, and it's just and as I said before, the way that he he had testicular cancer as well originally at West Ham as a very young player, and would cover up
where he'd had radiotherapy and things, and the crosses and the cobalt radiotherapy, and it's just the strength to come back from that and continue, and then go through the humiliation of the Bogota bracelet and things like that, and being accused, but then also performing at such a high level as well in the World Cup in 1970, and going on to, Bobby Moore I could speak about all day, to be fair. But it's just incredible player, and just...
I am perplexed sometimes at how much some of his stuff goes for. I know the monetary value, I think, is very cheap for Bobby Moore, I think. Yeah, no, exactly. And I mean, it's good for me personally, because I'm trying to collect every single Bobby Moore card that's existed. Okay.
Raw, not graded. Not. But it is an interesting thing, where I do kind of think that, and I don't like talking about money and stuff, but if you are kind of really, really thinking that it will take hold of the hobby, I think forget all the stuff that people should be going for Bobby Moore, players like Bobby Moore. And when I say players like Bobby Moore, the point is, how many players are there like Bobby Moore? I know like players like George Best and things are really popular and stuff, but I just don't know. To me, it baffles me. It astounds me that he's not more popular in the hobby.
We have one World Cup winning captain in our whole of English history, and that's him.
Exactly. we have one. Yeah, you said it. You just said it. He's like the only one that has won it, and was also and it's also one of the greatest defenders of all time, what people have said, in terms of natural defending ability to read the game. Just amazing player. And I love this card as well, by the way. I love this card. I do love Barratt's famous footballer set, those cigarette style portrait shots. I just it really resonates with me. I also really like some of the later years ones, when they've got the little club crest on as well. I really like those ones as well. They're also really quite nice, and I really like the Bobby Moore one of that. I really like the Dennis Law Man United one as well, actually. Sadly, very recently no longer with us, but amazing card, great item, and just people should collect Bobby Moore. People should just look into Bobby Moore and just go on the Bobby Moore journey and read a bit more about him. And I love like watching all the Bobby Moore stuff. Like what I'd say is watch like This Is Your Life, Bobby Moore This Is Your Life, because it's actually really awkward.
I've not seen the episode, but
it's because you said actually you felt that you're coming on This Is Your Life, actually.
Exactly.
But the Bobby Moore ones, it's very interesting because he's like got like his like school teacher comes on, because he was actually at school, he was like known as Tubby Moore and stuff and stuff like that. But it was. I think he's like asked, "What do you think Bobby Moore would go on to become what he has?" And I think his school teacher says, "I'm like, no, not really. I always thought he was a bit tubby." And like it was just like, great player. And I guess growing up in England and being English, we have that affinity to Bobby Moore. And I think if we were German, dare I say it, maybe we might have the same affinity to someone who I think we can draw a lot of parallels with Bobby Moore. And your pick for the next item. So should we have a chat about your next item, Sully?
Yeah, I'm sure our German counterparts, if there is a podcast out there doing Desert Island ones, I'm sure we'll be speaking with this player in the same light we do Bobby Moore. And that is Franz Beckenbauer. This is a Futera card from 2015, so not too far off like the ultra modern stuff we've got these days, but it's kind of like a silver-esque image that we've got etched with Beckenbauer's face on it. I think it's like a 70s image. And the main reason is the patch we see there is a match-worn patch of his Bayern Munich days. We can see kind of like the Adidas stripe there on the red shirt. And the main reason for this was the provenance of the match worn on the back, what it tells me, what it's from, which is amazing that this is actually from a European Cup final that Beckenbauer is in, one that he won, one that he captained to win, and also against an English team, Leeds United, in the 70s at the Parc des Princes in France. So yeah, the affinity of me knowing this is a European Cup final winning shirt of Beckenbauer, along with Bobby Moore, probably one of the greatest defenders of all time, one of the greatest captains of all time. We've got his European Cup final shirt here, one that he won it in.
Yeah, amazing card, and it's interesting with the Futera ones with the patches and things, because from my experience, looking at them, it's not always declared. It's kind of like match worn or something, or you see the patch, but then I'm always very interested to read the back, because sometimes they don't say any match worn from the 2011-12 season, but then sometimes you get these insanely like cool like matches that they're on. I mean, this is definitely the best version of that I've seen, by the way. A match winning captain from the European Cup final is pretty much as good as it can get, really. Yeah. And the multicolour, the two-tone patch as well is always going to go down a bit better. I think. So yeah, amazing item, really. Yeah. It looks really cool. Yeah.
It's that whole Futera thing as well. That they get a bit of flack. Some of their designs can be questionable to people. They don't have all the licenses either. I think they don't get as much credit that they deserve, especially on the match-worn side. And as we were speaking before this, the on-card autos they can get as well. I think they do really well in those kind of markets. And I kind of enjoy, especially the ones where it tells me which match it is. I really do like looking for them. Yeah, no,
exactly. And yeah, one of my favourite cards, I've mentioned it before, is this Yaya Toure one. And it's actually got the crest of like the Manchester City from this shirt, and he didn't win the European Cup final as a captain, but he scored the winning goal in that match from the 2013-14 season, which I just thought is really cool, like a 1-0 win against Stoke. I just think that's really when you go and research that what match was that was, it's really nice to actually get that and get the thing. And I think Futera as well, especially this kind of era, 2015, 2014, I wasn't in the hobby then, but you get the feeling that they were really doing it for the collector with some of their choices, which I definitely cannot say the same about the major manufacturers now. I just cannot. But these like lists and things, they're really compiled, and they've thought about the players that they are putting in, and they've really gone to great effort to try and get that stuff. Like some of the I have to mention Mario Balotelli on every single Desert Island Slabs episode, but
I can allow that, no problem.
But Balotelli has an on-card auto Futera from that era. It's the only on-card auto of Balotelli that he has, and and then some of the patches for players like Drogba and stuff, they're actually like really, really cool. Adebayor has an on-card auto, and to me, Adebayor's quite a significant player in the Premier League. He just is, So they've really gone to like effort to, compile that list and then go about sourcing the items, and then go about like asking players to do the on-card autos. It felt there was a labour of love, in many ways. Which I'm sorry, I can't say the same about them now. About not about Futera actually. About Panini and Topps. I can't say the same about them. And I am a simp because I do still try and collect some items of Panini and Topps. So. but it's just true the way they churn them out now, all these sets and stuff, and
it's just a shirt that's come from the club shop that they've cut up, and
Yeah, like patches, like some Chronicles patch of just like Vardy, and it's just this blue just thing, and it's just like, oh, come on, just I'm still gonna get it, but just like, just come on, like put a bit more effort in, guys. But yeah, amazing item, and I mean, yeah, Franz Beckenbauer. I don't know too much about Franz Beckenbauer on a personal level. Actually, I haven't really gone much into him.
No, me either. Yeah, I haven't gone too much into him. Just as a football player, we know and recognise how much and how important he was to Germany, West Germany. So
exactly, yeah. I mean, he won it as a player, a World Cup as a player, as a manager. And yeah, so was this? Was this like an eBay listing or a card hobby? And then was it listed like, oh, European Cup winning title shirt or something? Like what? How did you? And then we like, oh my goodness, like what happened? Tell me.
Yeah, I was just in one of those kind of moods where I wanted a patch from a major name, a kind of a vintage major name. So I kind of just went in blind really to eBay. Just to kind of see what was out there on the English market on the .co.uk. I just randomly came across it. The listing didn't say anything about the provenance of the patch, which probably wasn't great for them.
Not at all.
No, it was just kind of match worn patch of Franz Beckenbauer Futera is all it really had on there. I'm not sure if the seller knew too much about the back of it, whether he even looked at it, but yeah, I was kind of just looking for a match-worn patch of a vintage legend that I really wanted to add to the collection outside of just normal cards and stuff. So, and that one popped up, and yeah, the provenance on the back just kind of sold it to me straight away.
Yeah, it's really amazing item, and that's the thing, is in the sense that I don't love aftermarket cards of like post-career playing cards.
Yeah,
but this is, and I'm not just saying it, this is actually the kind of one that I make a complete exception for, and I actually think that this is an amazing item. This is a truly, truly amazing item of a player. Actually, say all the, like you showed me the Ian Rush Eminence and things. I really like those cards, but to me, what would I rather have? Would I rather have a Franz Beckenbauer, forget the monetary stuff, would I rather have a Franz Beckenbauer Eminence, amazing card, I don't know if one exists by the way, or a flawless, or would I rather have that? I'd actually really genuinely rather have that because of that patch. I would, and I imagine that was a fraction of the price as well to one of those premium sets as well.
Definitely was, yeah.
It's just because and that's what I think as well. What I really like as well is that sort of contextual component of things, whereby, yeah, you can, and if you apply it to modern players as well, like, you can try and go for, 2017 Topps Chrome of them, or the 2018 treble, dare I say it, or like a 2014 Prism or something. And that they're kind of like three that people tend to target. But actually then another step, and one I find more rewarding, is really delving into a particular player and identifying what is a card that is really unique and also rare sometimes for that player, and then trying to make that my grail of that player and things. And this is an amazing item, and just kind of hidden in plain sight as well by the sound of it.
Yeah, it's just, Beckenbauer gave up that shirt that he won a European Cup in, so that wouldn't have been an easy feat for him. I'm not sure how they procured it, but yeah, that's to get a European Cup final winning shirt from that era of that kind of player is just really nice. I couldn't say no.
No, exactly. And coming up to the 50th anniversary as well, by the sound of it. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
What's your intention with this, Sully? Is this are you going to grade it, or what do you think?
No, I guess with the Ian Rush as well, it's not really what I'm bothered about grading. I'm not bothered about seeing what it achieves. They're thick cards, so they tend not to grade well. So there is no plan to grade it. It's probably going to be part of like a small set of other ones I'm going to find from Futera, which have just as good provenance on the back, really, James. Yeah. I'm not sure if there's one out there. I'd love to find like a World Cup game that's, put on the back there. This was a World Cup semi-final match, worn shirt or something. Those kind of things is what I'm going to be looking for.
That would be amazing. Because, I tend to look at the ones, the Futera patches that come up, like from around this era, the mid 2010s, and I must admit, I've never seen one as good as that. I've seen some cool ones, but never one as good as that. It's
the best I've been able to find up to now.
Yeah,
I'm sure there's more out there. I've not done enough homework really to know.
And also, Sully, for a player like Franz Beckenbauer, like one of the, top 20, maybe even top 10, but top 20 players of all time. It's just like,
I agree. Yep.
Amazing,
yeah,
amazing item, and an amazing way to finish the sort of football, soccer component of this. But we're almost at the end. It's very sad. We've had an amazing time, and we've come to the end of our football discussion, but we do have one item left to discuss. And like I said, we're deviating away from football into the world of television, and somewhat ironically, a bit of a Desert Island pick.
That was in the back of my mind when choosing this one.
So I think this is a great way to finish, actually. So, yeah, it's something I'm not so familiar with, but Sully, you're going to have to help me out. I'm sure you will. But should we have a chat about your final item?
Yeah. So this is an item of my favourite TV show of all time. Probably my favourite character. There's two on the show that I really enjoy watching, and this is one of those two. So this is from a company called Rittenhouse. Rittenhouse are renowned for bringing out non-sports card product. This is on card also. This is Terry O'Quinn, the actor who plays Locke, John Locke, on the TV show Lost. He is one of the major characters, plays all the way through, and he's one of two characters on the show that I really resonated with and enjoyed watching on it, and their character kind of development through the seasons. But yeah, Lost TV show from the early 2000s. I would have been, I would have been in high school back then, kind of really getting into TV shows of that period, and even today I prefer a TV series over a movie personally. Going through that journey week on week, or binge watching each one, and yeah, Lost is definitely up there for me as the number one show.
Yeah, and what was it? I guess two questions, and the second will lead on from the first. What was it about Lost, and then the next component? What was it about John Locke that really resonated with you so much, and why was that such a big impact on your sort of like growing up process?
Yeah, so I think there's two parts to the show itself. First of all, it was really like mysterious. Everything had a question. They left every episode on like on the edge of a cliff. You didn't know what was going to happen next. So that part of it really gripped me and kept me going, in that I didn't know what was going to happen next. I needed to watch that next episode. The other half was I'm an avid traveller. I've travelled quite a lot of the world, and the thought of kind of being on an island that I don't know where I am and stuff, kind of, I don't know, it's it resonates quite positively with me. I know if that ever happened to you, it's not a very good experience at all.
Yeah, well, you'll have these 8 items with you, Sully.
Yeah.
So you can look at them all the time. It'll be quite nice.
Yeah, but there's something about being on an island on my own for a period of time that I would probably enjoy personally, outside of the negative experience of a plane crash. I would enjoy being on an island personally. So I think that really resonates with me, along with, if you know, the island. The film from Leonardo DiCaprio, that's kind of one of my favourite films. So there's that element to it, me being a traveller and really enjoying travel, and yeah, being on an island that I don't know where I am kind of thing, really resonated with me.
Yeah, and then with regards to like John Locke, why John so specifically?
Yeah, so for me, I always seem to, in everything I do in life, whether it's a sports person or a TV show, I always seem to root for the underdog. John was this kind of, he was a person on the show where the characters really kind of stayed away from him. They didn't really, they were worried and scared of him because he had this affinity with knowing exactly what to do. He was very good at hunting and things like that, but he came across as this older person in the group, and everyone didn't really trust him in whatever way. I think he kind of, throughout as the show went on, and I I would say I don't want to give away a spoiler. This is a 20-year-old show now. But John was someone who wanted to stay on the island, whereas everyone was trying to get off it. He outside of the island, he was someone who was in a wheelchair, but his main aim in life was to go out into the outback of Australia and kind of, he didn't want to be stuck in that chair. He was someone who wanted to be out of that chair and be able to do his own thing. He didn't want people to help him with anything. So when he hit that island, for the forces of the island, he was able to walk again. So he did everything that he couldn't do outside of life, where he was told he can't do something. He went and did the hunting. He built his own shacks. He did everything he couldn't do outside of life on that island, and that kind of resonated with me. He, everything he had an obstacle against in his previous life was no longer there anymore.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Yeah, I mean, I remember two of my best friends at school were obsessed with Lost. They were obsessed with Lost, and I remember them liking John Locke as well. And I think John Locke's the name of quite a famous philosopher. And then they both went on to do philosophy at Cambridge, which maybe that had an impact on whether they wanted to do that. But yeah, really nice card as well. And Rittenhouse I also quite like as well. I really like the clean autos that they have.
Yeah.
And yeah, I do. I've owned one actually. The one I own is Paul Ritter, and it's a James Bond set. And actually, Paul Ritter, who sadly is no longer with us, but he is was the dad in Friday Night Dinner, which is just a brilliant show.
Yeah.
And so so going away from sport and looking for these items that you kind of like really like, people that you admire and you want to find, and then applying what you know from sort of a sports context as well is quite rewarding. And like you kind of, because you've already done a lot of the work, again, for want of a better word. I don't like using that word because it's a hobby, but it's nice to apply. So, oh my goodness, this is an on-card auto of someone that I really like. And yeah, and also Terry O'Quinn's signature. Can you just bring it up again? It's an amazing
Fantastic
signature.
It's a piece of art in itself.
Yeah, it's one of the best signatures I've like ever seen actually on a card.
Yeah,
it looks so amazing, and maybe like Lautaro Martinez can learn a thing or two from Terry O'Quinn, because his little C thing or whatever he does is he needs some lessons from Terry on how to write.
And like you mentioned with Rittenhouse as well, they've kind of like whitened the art as it goes down the card so that it's really clean and can be seen, that autograph. Yeah.
Really, really nice card. Amazing card. And you mentioned you're a bit of a traveller as well. Is there, where's like your favourite place you've gone? What's your favourite trip? Or
I would have to say Thailand is my favourite country to go to. Yeah. I just have a lot of affinity there. I have a friend who lives there now. He went out there travelling and decided to just stay there and never came back.
Oh, wow.
He's now a teacher in a school in Thailand. But there's something about the country. I travelled around there for a month with my wife before, when we was in between jobs. We just had that opportunity at the right time. We were both moving to new jobs. We had a month spare and we decided to go out to Thailand to travel, and I just loved every minute of it. I've been to a lot of countries in my life, but that country just, I just really enjoy it, and I fell in love with it. So everything from wildlife, the scenery, to the people. It's also relatively cheap to kind of travel and stay. It just ticks all the boxes, and it's probably my number one country to travel to.
Yeah, I'd also absolutely love to go to Thailand. I never like equating things, but I was kind of having a bit of a choice between Thailand or Vietnam a few years ago, obviously with the intention of going to both at some point. And I went for Vietnam, and I think, like you say, that it was quite economical in places, but the energy, like Hanoi as well, like the intensity of Hanoi and things. I imagine Bangkok and it is probably even more. It's just like this. It's just like sensory overload of like the colours and things and the noise and the street traffic and stuff. It's just, it makes London look quite dour actually at times, and like just a bit beige with what it was, but. Yeah, what an amazing discussion. I really varied discussion, speaking about a lot of English football, and then finishing with Lost, and it makes me want to go and watch Lost. Actually, maybe I'll get around to it. But yeah, Sully, do you have any sort of unifying thoughts or concluding remarks? What do you anything you want to say? Confess?
Yeah, I'd love to see more people come into the vintage and pre-modern side of the hobby. It is maturing a lot now, and if we look what is happening in America, and I feel like they are definitely a place to look at when regards to the sports cards, as it's been going on a lot longer than it has in the UK. Vintage has become more prominent there, financially and popularity. So I'd love to see more people hit that vintage and pre-modern side of the market. I think it's a really you can learn a lot, even though these players, the football side of things, these players I would have never seen. I would have never known at a young age, but to learn their stories and to find information about them is really rewarding when you end up with that card in your hand.
Yeah, no, and I agree. And almost like I would love an evolved situation where just people really covet certain items. Like even I mentioned Emmanuel Adebayor. I had no idea I was going to mention Emmanuel, but be like, that's like Emmanuel Adebayor's only like on card career auto. And it's like, so yeah, he's like a significant player. He got a lot of column inches at the time because again he was a bit of a nutter sometimes and would say weird things and do weird things and wind people up, and
the celebration he did when he was playing for Man City against Arsenal.
Oh yeah, it's just like that's just and then him accusing his mother of putting a curse on him or whatever stuff he did, and when he would just turn up like 3 days late after international duty from Togo and all these stories. And it's just what I would love on a personal level, but I think maybe as well I have to be careful not to project my own loves onto people, is that what I would love is that you have people come in, and this is why, and it's actually a very interesting discussion and one I've had debates with people about and sometimes arguments with people about, in the sense that for me, for the hobby to truly grow, and I do love our American friends and counterparts, I don't see a situation where it will truly grow because you're trying to engineer a situation in which they develop a love for football from cards. But I think that's way more of a leap to do, rather than get the people that already had these memories of players like Adebayor or whoever, and just get them in and be like, that's actually really cool. Because a lot of the time, the items that my friends really like and enjoy are not I don't have too many of that stuff, but like the low numbered stuff of things. And it's more like, oh my goodness, that's actually really interesting. That's really cool. That's like Vardy's Leicester debut or something. That's actually really cool. I can see why someone would want that. Or like when he broke the record against Man United when he scored 11 in a row. Yeah. So I think it's way easier to engineer that love from people that already have the sort of background with the Premier League and things, rather than asking. As I said, I love Americans in the hobby. Actually, I think they do a really, really good thing, and the ones that are truly, truly love it. But I don't think you're going to get ones that don't like football to like football from cards. Yeah. I don't think that will happen. Yeah, I don't think that will happen. Yeah. So yeah, but yeah, thank you. Yeah, Sully, thank you so much for coming on.
No, I appreciate the invite.
It's been an amazing discussion. Yeah, is there anything else you want to say at all, or before we finish?
I think the last thing I'll probably say is I think as you move forward with this series, James, I think we'll need to kind of switch it over and get your 8 from someone at some point. I think that's what we need to do at some point, is get your 8 and we'll switch the tables and we'll get someone in to talk to you.
Yeah, no, it's a good suggestion, and maybe there is an idea for that at one point.
Yeah,
maybe the last ever episode.
Yeah, the finale one.
The finale one. But I want it to run for a while. And there's one item which I won't talk about, because obviously when you do these discussions, now I've done quite a few of them, you kind of think about what would the items be in your own 8.
Yeah.
But there's one item that I need to acquire.
Okay.
There's one. But that's 5 years and I haven't even seen it, so we'll see. But Sully, thank you so much for coming on. It was honestly amazing guest, amazing discussion, and so passionate as well. So yeah, I just want to say thank you to you, and thank you to everyone for watching, listening to another episode of Desert Island Slabs. Sully was an amazing guest, and we will be moving forward with more collectors, more passionate collectors in the series, handpicked by myself, because I just know they will be amazing. So thank you so much for watching. If you're able to, please subscribe to the channel and like the video. It really, really helps me out. And also, please check out Sully's own podcast, the European Vintage podcast, which again is something that I very much enjoy listening to, and it's my gym podcast actually. It's like in the morning in the gym. I listen to it when one's released. So yeah, but thank you so much, Sully. If you're a collector and you'd be interested in coming on a future series of Desert Island Slabs, then please don't hesitate to message me on the My Sports Compendium Instagram or the Desert Island Slabs Instagram. But for now, it's goodbye from me, and it's goodbye from Sully.
Bye.
Bye bye.